بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين أما بعد. The discussion that we have been doing for the last several weeks is that of the structure of Surah Kahf. The tafsir we had completed during the month of Ramadan. Since then we have been speaking about the structure of the surah. So we had already discussed section 1, which had the first lecture. Section 2 we discussed in detail last week, which was the story of the use of the cave. Now today we're going to discuss section 3, which is actually lecture 2. Right? We had previously discussed the linear structure of this lecture and how it connects with the first lecture in a previous majlis. So today I won't spend too much time in the linear structure. We'll just go through it because it just reminds us of the miraculous nature of the Qur'an. So today we're going to begin with ayat number 27, which is the first ayah of the third section, which is lecture 2. So in this ayah Allah says, وَاتْلُوا مَا أُوحِيَ إِلَيْكَ مِنْ كِتَابِ رَبِّكَ لَا مُبَدِّلَ لِكَلِمَاتِهِ وَلَنْ تَجِدَ مِنْ دُونِهِ مُلْتَحَدًا. Allah mentions three things here. One, He mentions His kitab, right? That, O Muhammad, O Prophet of Allah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, read whatever has been revealed upon you from the book of your sustainer. La mubaddila li kalimati, no one can change His words. Then walan tajida min dunihi multahada, and you will not find besides Allah a place of protection. Meaning, if you do not fulfill this duty of reading the kitab as it is to the people, then na'udhu billah, right, min dhalik, that Allah is saying to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because Allah in His royalty has the right to say to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that you will not find a place of protection other than me, meaning to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah is saying this to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So in this ayah here, in the 27th ayah, Allah mentions three things. One, His kitab. Two, la mubaddila li kalimati, no one will be able to change the words of this kitab, meaning they won't be able to, create any type of blasphemy with regards to this book. وَلَن تَجِدَ مِن دُونِهِ مُلْتَحَدًا. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you will not find a place of protection besides Allah if you do not fulfill this right of the kitab. Okay, and this is connected linearly to the first 5 ayahs of the surah. Okay, I'm not going to go back to those ayahs. Those who have zeal, you can read the ayahs and read the translation in either Urdu or English, and you will find the connection. If you still don't find the connection, well, just go back to the last majlis. I can't remember what day it was, probably the first day after Ramadan or something, and there I discussed it all, right? But it's all in there. Then in ayah number 28, Allah says, وَاصْبِرْ نَفْسَكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ بِالْغَدَاةِ وَالْعَشِيِّ يريدون وجهه ولا تعد عيناك عنهم تريد زينة الحياة الدنيا ولا تطع من أغفلنا قلبه عن ذكرنا واتبع هواه وكان أمره فرطا. Right? O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, again, be patient or stay with those who call to your sustainer in the day and in the evening, in the morning and the evening. And I said in the tafsir, that means who are calling upon your Lord day and night, meaning all the time. Okay, like how we say day and night in English, right? In the morning and the evening, meaning stick with those people who continuously call upon your sustainer, upon your Lord. And why do they call? yuriduna wajhahu, seeking His pleasure. وَلَا تَعْدُ عَيْنَاكَ عَنْهُمْ, do not let your eyes, or you can say extend past them. تُرِيدُ زِينَةَ حَيَاةَ الدُّنْيَا, wishing for the luxury of the worldly life. وَلَا تُطِعْ مَنْ أَغْفَلْنَا قَلْبَهُ, and do not follow that one whose heart we have made negligence from our remembrance, and who follows his baseless desires, and his actions are in violation of one type of another. Okay? So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in this ayah has been told who to keep company with. And that was the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'een, right? And if you look back at ayat number 6, right, there Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was told, فَلَعَلَّكَ بَاقِعٌ نَفْسَكَ عَلَىٰ آثَارِهِمْ. It seems that you're going to kill yourself out of grief behind these people. Who were those people that Allah spoke about in ayat number 6? Those were the elite of the Quraysh, those kuffar who were the elite, who were like the higher up in society. So here is like a comparison between the company of the Sahaba and the elite. Now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has been told here to keep the company of the Sahaba in ayah number 28. And from ayahs number 29 to 31, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَقُلِ الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّكُمْ فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. Whoever wishes, let him bring iman, and whomsoever wishes, let him do kufr. Meaning, the choice is theirs. Who wants to come on to faith, let them come on to faith. Who doesn't want to come on to faith, well, let it be. Okay? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, إِنَّا عَتَدْنَا لِلظَّالِمِينَ. He explains about the akhirah of the wrongdoers. Then Allah also says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. Then He explains about the akhirah of the righteous ones. So from ayahs number 29 to 31, Allah mentions how the people have a choice and the akhirah. And in the last two ayahs, number 7 and 8 of the first khutbah, those I will read. Allah said in those ayats, وَإِنَّا لَجَاعِلُونَ مَا عَلَيْهَا صَعِيدًا جُرُزًا. That was the last ayah. But before that, Allah said, إِنَّا جَعَلْنَا مَا عَلَى الْأَرْضِ زِينَةً لَهَا لِنَبْلُوَهُمْ أَيُّهُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. That we had created the earth and whatever is upon it as adornment so that we can test people. When the test will be fulfilled, when people have a choice. Okay? And then Allah said that we will make whatever is upon the earth barren land again. Meaning we will establish Qiyamah. And what will happen in the Qiyamah and what happens after Qiyamah, that's all mentioned in these ayats 29 to 31. The abode of the righteous people and the abode of the negligent ones, right? So this is a linear connection between this lecture here to the lecture that came first at the beginning of the surah, where ayats number 27, meaning the beginning ayats, connect with the beginning ayats over there. The middle ayat connects with the middle, and the end ayats connect with the end. So that was a linear connection between the first section and the third section, lecture 1 and lecture 2. Today now, our topic is to look at the ring structure of lecture 2 itself. How this lecture is structured, right? And this is another miraculous aspect of the Qur'an, that at the same time it's connecting with the first lecture, it is also connecting with itself within this section here. So in this first ayah, as I read just now, وَاتْلُ مَا أُوحِيَ إِلَيْكَ مِنْ كِتَابِ رَبِّكَ لَا مُبَدِّلَ لِكَلِمَاتِ وَلَنْ تَجِدَ مِنْ دُونِهِ مُلْتَحَدًا. I don't need to translate the whole thing again. Allah is telling Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to read this kitab to the people. And no one will be able to change this kitab. Right? And you will not find a place of protection besides Allah. Right? Now what's the last ayah of this section? Right? The last ayah is ayah number 31. What's mentioned in ayah number 31? أُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمْ جَنَّاتُ عَدْنٍ تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِهِمُ الْأَنْهَارُ. They, right? Lahum, for them, or belongs to them, are the eternal gardens, beneath which rivers flow. يُحَلَّوْنَ فِيهَا مِنْ أَسَاوِرَ مِنْ ذَهَبٍ. Right? They will be adorned in those gardens with bracelets made of gold. وَيَلْبَسُونَ ثِيَابًا خُضْرًا مِنْ سُنُّسٍ وَإِسْتَبْرَقٍ. And they will wear green clothes made of silk and fine brocade, right? Or rich brocade. مُتَّكِئِينَ فِيهَا عَلَى الْأَرَائِكِ. They will be reclined in those gardens on beddings. نِعْمَ الثَّوَابِ. What a marvelous reward this would be. وَحَسُنَتْ مُرْتَفَقًا. What a fabulous place of rest this will be. Okay? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here in the last ayah of lecture 2 is describing Jannah, right? And he mentions at the end, وَحَسُنَتْ مُرْتَفَقًا, right? And what a fabulous place of rest this will be. So, one, in the first ayah, Allah says, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you will not find a place of protection besides me, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in the last ayah, Allah is saying, وَحَسُنَتْ مُرْتَفَقًا, describing Jannah, that Jannah is a marvelous place of relaxation. Okay? We make dua from salvation from what? The fire of hell. If we are protected from the fire of hell, where will we end up? Inshallah, in Jannah. Okay? So we see, when we are protected, where are we? We are in Jannah. So where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in ayah number 1 says to Rasulullah, you will not find a place of protection besides me. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that place of protection in ayah number 31. So we see how ayahs number 27 and number 31s are linked, right? With that same type of, that concept of Jannah coming into our minds. Next ayah is ayah number 28, right? And I've divided that ayah into 2 parts. Okay? The first part is وَاصْبِرْ نَفْسَكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ بِالْغَدَاةِ وَالْعَشِيِّ يُرِيدُونَ وَجْهَهُ وَلَا تَعْدُ عَيْنَاكَ عَنْهُمْ تُرِيدُ زِينَةَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. That's the first part of it. That, O Prophet of Allah, O Muhammad, stick with those who call on their Rabb morning and evening, wishing Allah's pleasure, wishing His pleasure, and do not extend your eyes beyond them, wishing for the luxury of the worldly life. Okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions here that the ones who call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, special mentions is made of those people, right? What is mentioned in ayah number 30 now? In ayah number 30, Allah says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ إِنَّا لَا نُضِيءُ أَجْرَ مَنْ أَحْسَنَ عَمَلًا. Verily, those who do good, who believe, وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, and do good actions. What is good actions? يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ بِالْغَدَاةِ وَالْعَشِيِّ, right? Who call out upon the Lord. That's part of good actions. إِنَّا لَا نُضِيعُ أَجْرَ مَنْ أَحْسَنَ عَمَلًا. Verily, we will not make waste the ajr, meaning the reward of those who do good actions. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the doers of the good actions in ayah number 28, and in ayah 30, Allah mentions their reward. So we see the connection between ayahs number 28 and number 30, how they connect there. Now the second part of ayah number 28, what did Allah say? وَلَا تُطِعْ مَنْ أَغْفَلْنَا قَلْبَهُ عَنْ ذِكْرِنَا وَاتَّبَعَ هَوَاهُ وَكَانَ أَمْرُهُ فُرُطًا. And do not follow the one whose heart we have made negligent from our remembrance, and who follows his baseless desires. وَكَانَ أَمْرُهُ فُرُطًا, and whose action is in violation. Okay? Allah says don't follow that person. What is this connected with? This is connected with thing 29b, because ayah number 29 also has 2 sections, right? And what is the second section of ayah number 29? It starts from إِنَّا أَعْتَدْنَا إِنَّا أَعْتَدْنَا لِلظَّالِمِينَ نَارًا أَحَاطَ بِهِمْ سُرَادِقُهَا. Verily, we have prepared for the wrongdoers a fire, right? أَحَاطَ بِهِمْ سُرَادِقُهَا, that will whose walls will surround them. وَإِنْ يَسْتَغِيثُوا يُغَاثُ بِمَاءٍ كَالْمُهْلِ يَشْوِي الْوُجُوهِ. And if they call for water, they will be given water which is similar to molten metal. يَشْوِي الْوُجُوهِ, which will roast their faces. بِئْسَ الشَّرَابِ. What a horrible drink this would be. وَسَاءَتْ مُرْتَفَقًا, and what a terrible place of rest this is. Okay? So, 28b, the second half of ayah number 28, what was mentioned there? Not to follow those whose hearts we have made negligent. The ones who follow their baseless desires. The ones whose actions are always in violation. Okay? And then Allah says, who are those people? In ayah number 29b, Allah mentions the consequence of those wrongdoers, right? That verily we have prepared for wrongdoers. So the ones whose hearts we've made negligent, obviously those are the wrongdoers. Who follow their baseless desires, that's another description of wrongdoers, right? Whose actions are always in violation to the commandments of Allah, that's a description of wrongdoers, isn't it? And 29b, it mentions the consequence of that wrongdoing, that we have prepared a fire for the zalimeen, for the wrongdoers. Ahata bihim suradiquha, the walls of which have surrounded them, right? And when they call for water, we will be given molten metal to drink, right? And it will burn their faces. All the tafsir we did already in Ramadan, so I'm not going into that. What a horrible place. So basically, 28b is a command to Rasulullah, do not follow the wrongdoers, right? And in 29b, what is mentioned there? The consequence of those wrongdoers. What will happen to those wrongdoers in the akhirah? Okay, and what we're left back with now, as I said, sometimes what a ring structure happens when you make the whole ring structure, one part somehow sticks out. It doesn't connect anywhere. So what's that part? That part is what is mentioned in 29a, the first part of ayah number 29. And that's وَقُلِ الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّكُمْ فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. Right? And say al-haqqu min rabbikum, the truth which is from your Lord. Whomsoever wishes, they should bring faith, and whomsoever wishes, they can do kufr. They can deny. So this is basically the standout point, the lesson, that you're being given a choice. Okay? Can anyone remember what was left over from last week? What was the ayat that was left over? The ayah which was left over last week was Man yahdillahu fahuwa al-muhtad. Whomsoever Allah guides, he will be rightly guided. وَمَنْ يُضْلِلْ فَلَنْ تَجِدَ لَهُ وَلِيًّا مُرْشِدًا. And whomsoever Allah misguides, you will not find a helper who can guide him. So that last week's ayah which was left out, or that standing out point, may give us that impression that it's not in our choice to gain guidance. Because it says, right, that whoever Allah guides, he'll be rightly guided. And whoever Allah misguides, then what will happen? He can't even find a friend who will be able to guide him. So that might put us under the impression that what is all in Allah's hands. And today's leftover section, what did it teach us? That no, you still have a choice though. Right? It's not all left on Allah's decree. You have the choice. فَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيُؤْمِنْ وَمَنْ شَاءَ فَلْيَكْفُرْ. And before that, the first section had the leftover ayah of the two leftover ayahs from the beginning. Alhamdulillahi alladhi anzala ala abdihi al-kitab. And then the other ayah, which was مَا لَهُمْ بِهِ مِنْ عِلْمٍ وَلَا لِآبَائِهِمْ. They don't have knowledge, nor did their forefathers have knowledge. So I mentioned there that the leftover ayahs from the first lecture, from the first section, was somehow pointing towards two forms of guidance which a person can follow. Either the kitab, meaning the Qur'an, or either his forefathers. The next leftover points, what did it teach us? That whomsoever Allah will guide, they will be rightly guided. Whoever Allah does not guide, then you won't even find someone who can guide him. And then today's one, what is it saying? What? The human being has a choice. Right? قُلِ الْحَقُّ مِنْ رَبِّكُمْ. Say what is true from your Lord. Right? And whoever wishes, they will bring faith, and whomsoever wishes, they will deny. So leave it. So it's all about all the leftover sections, starting from the first section, second section, and third section, is around a whole different subject matter too. Right? It's talking about guidance, the forms of guidance, then how Allah guides, and then how the human being has the choice to attain this guidance. Right? So that's the leftover sections from each. The leftover ayats from each section also have a theme of its own. And then if we study the theme from section 1, 2, and 3, right? The first lecture, the story that we spoke about last week, and today's lecture. The theme of all of this is mainly about faith, right? There are three main topics here. Basically bringing faith, following the kitab, right? And the next thing is there's mentioning of the hereafter, right? And what was the story? What was learned from the story of the people of the cave also? That after they were risen, after 309 years, that Qiyamah is true. This was a sign that, right, that the Sa'ah will happen. It's something true. So these first three sections are all focused on what? Basically faith. Bringing faith on the Kitab and faith on the Day of Judgment. Right? And then Rasulullah ﷺ is instructed in between there to stay with the Sahaba, the ones who have faith. And don't be distracted by those who have influence, right? Whether it may be by wealth or position. So the whole beginning, these first three sections of Surah Kahf is concentrated. We can just feel it. The whole theme of it is about having strong faith, right? So that's the first part of Surah Kahf. Next week, inshallah, when we go on to sections 3 and 4, right, that those sections will deal more with about materialism, right? You will hear the tone and the theme change itself, right, when we go into that. So that concludes basically how this first part is all connected. How lecture 1 is connected to lecture 2, and then how the story itself was connected with itself in a linear way as well as in a ring structure as well, right? So it's like lecture 1 connects with lecture 2, that forms a ring, and then the lecture and then the story, which was in the middle, right, of the people of the cave, that connected with itself inside. So it's like a circle with another circle inside of it, right? So this is one miraculous nature of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Of the Qur'an, sorry. Because the Qur'an is not literature, right? To do this in literature, to write a chapter or to write half of a chapter with this structure in itself is difficult. But then to speak it is double difficult, right? And then the other miraculous factor that I was explaining to the brothers last week after the lesson, that if we notice Surah Kahf, every single ayah ends with a word that has fathatain, right? Dozabar as we call it. Halate mansoob as you call it in Arabic grammar. Okay? In simple words to explain what halate mansoob is, right? English is a language that is spoken with the words ending with sukoon, right? There are no vowel sounds at the end of any word in English. This is specific to Arabic, right? For example, we say the girl hit the boy, right? But in Arabic, we don't speak with sukoon at the end of words. We speak with vowel sounds. So in Arabic, for example, you will say the girl hit the boy. You understand now? Right? That's how Arabic is spoken. Right? Right? Darabal bintu al-walad. Walada. Darabal bintul walada. Right? You will hear that pesh, you will hear that zabar, you will hear vowel sounds at the end of each noun in Arabic. But we don't have vowel sounds in English, right? So vowel sounds in Arabic represent the part of speech a word is. Okay? This is very simple terms. It's much deeper than this, right? But it's just simple so you all will get the point I'm trying to make about the Quran. Okay? So in Arabic, the object comes with zabar, right? And the subject comes with pesh. So how I said the girl who hit the boy, right? You see the pesh sound, the u sound comes on the subjects in Arabic. And the zabar sounds comes on objects, right? Like وَقَتَلَ دَاوُودَ جَالُوتَ. Dawood alayhi salam killed. No, sorry, the other way around. وَقَتَلَ Allah Akbar. No, I got it correct. It's correct. وَقَتَلَ دَاوُودُ جَالُوتَ. Right? Right? Say that Dawood alayhi salam killed Jalut. Right? So you got the pesh on the doer of the action, and the person upon the object upon whom the action fell has the zabar. Right? Everybody following that? But the zabar, or what we call fathatain, or the halatin nasab, which is more correct, right, is not only confined to the object, right? I had to go and dig up my old grammar book here, right? There are 12 different parts of speech which a zabar can come upon, right? The boys here will know these things now. One is maf'ul mutlaq, one is maf'ul bihi, one is maf'ul lahu, the fourth is maf'ul fi, the fifth is maf'ul ma'ahu, then hal, then tamiz, then ismu inna wa akhwatuha, khabru ma wala mushabbahatani bilaysa, ismu la linafil jins, khabru kana wa akhwatuha wal mustasna. These are 12 different parts of speech that can carry a zabar, right? In simple words, right? Or that come in halat mansoob. Now we have 110 ayats here in Surah Kahf, right? And we start with one. Iwaja, hasana, walada, abada, kadhiba, amala, juruza, ajaba, rashada, adada, amada, all the way to the end, ahada, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has structured every sentence that the part of speech, that the last word of each sentence or each ayah is either falls into one of these 12 categories. You may be able to achieve that in writing, but how can you talk for 20 minutes, right, and make sure the last word of every sentence you say will end in halat nasab, meaning will fall in either one of these 12 categories I just mentioned, right? Is that humanly possible? No, right? I just mentioned in this little extra because today the actual ayats finished quick, right? And then the next point I mentioned to Brother Bilal last week is etymology, right? The root of words, right? Where words come from. That's another whole subject too. Like I mentioned one connection in the first lecture where the first ayah ends with the word iwaja and the 8th ayah ends with the word juruza. Now in Arabic, you can say awijatil ardu, meaning the earth is bumpy or it's hilly, it's not flat then, right? Awijatil ardu, to explain that the earth is bumpy, right? And then at the end, Allah mentions the 8th ayah, which is the last ayah of the first section, right? وَإِنَّا لَجَائِنُونَ مَا عَلَيْهَا صَعِيدًا جُرُزًا. Now this word juruza comes from the word jarizatil ardu, meaning when the earth becomes barren, it has no ability to produce crops anymore. That what jarizatil ardu means, right? Meaning the earth has no ability to produce crops. Meaning you won't see anything growing on it. It will just be like flat land. So Allah mentions that Alhamdulillah alladhi anzala ala abdihi al-kitaba wa lam yaj'al lahu iwaja. Now if you read the English translation, all you're going to get out of it is all praises be to Allah who has revealed the kitab, the book, upon his servant, and he has not made it wa lam yaj'al lahu iwaja, and he has not made any crookedness in it. That's what you're going to get from English translation or even Urdu translation, right? Or Quran mein koi terapan nahi hai bas, right? But when an Arab hears awijatil ardu, I'm going to give you all an analogy, right? It's like I'm saying to an English speaker that the Quran has no S-bends in it. Now when you hear the word S-bend, what imagery comes into your mind right away? A racetrack, right? When you hear S-bends. So when an Arab hears iwaja, although it means it has no crookedness, there's some imagery of the earth and the bumpy earth coming in his mind. And then it connects with another sentence which speaks about the earth again in Sa'id and Juruza, because Sa'id actually means the earth and Juruza, and we will make the earth itself Juruza, meaning plain. So basically even the etymology, the words Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses to describe the Quran with. He describes the Quran, iwaja, it does not have crookedness in it. He chose a word, iwaja, that would give a person the imagery of the earth, which again he was going to describe at the end of that section, that on the Day of Judgment, the earth will be flat. So even the etymology of the Quran, the words that Allah chooses to describe, anything are specifically, picked out. This also is beyond human capacity. That how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala right? So this is a lot happening here. You have the etymology, then you have the grammar, then you have the structure, then you have the linear structure, then you have the ring structure, then you have the tafsir that we took a whole month to go over, and that was very brief tafsir. So basically, this shows the miraculous nature of the Qur'an. That, you know what I mean? That no one can produce anything like this, right? That's why the challenge remains till today. فَأْتُوا بِسُورَةٍ مِّن مِثْلِهِ. Allah says, just bring one surah like it. Don't try to better it. Just something that can match it. It still stands to the world today. No one has been able to do it. Right? If we get time coming down to the end, the Arabs tried. Al-Fil, Mal-Fil, and then they, that's a very vulgar poem. Right? It comes in Muwatta Malik, right? I'll give you all the translation of that poem. Right? Inshallah. Someday in between. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika.